Hey, welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. Right now, the jury in Chicago is on verdict watch in the Jason Van Dyke murder trial. Again, Chicago police officer who shot and killed Laquan McDonald back in October of 2014. He shot him 16 times. Joining me right now, all the way from Chicago via Skype, is R.J. Mangone. R.J., how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am well, sir. Hey, listen, you've been following this pretty closely. You've been in that courtroom all day. Are you getting a sense of which way the jury may be going? How are they acting when the defense is up versus when the prosecution is up? How attentive are they in listening to this case?
They're taking notes. They've been taking notes throughout the entire trial, and they seem to be paying more attention to the prosecution because the prosecution, quite frankly, they're laying out more facts. Without attacking the defense, they're fighting against video.
Right.
They're fighting against actual video and trying to discredit the video. And actually, when Van Dyke took the stand, the animation that they created, reenacting from his point of view, when he was under cross, he said that doesn't represent his point of view. So he's disputing their own evidence, their own proposed evidence, their own explanation.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, how did the jury actually take to this animation? Because this is not something you see typically in a case where the defense recreates their own animation from a shooter's point of view, right? I mean, especially when you have contradicting video to suggest something else. So how did the jury actually take to that? What was their expression?
From what I saw and from what I saw in the gallery, I don't think people put too much stock into it. Mm-hmm. And again, when you have the defendant not put stock into it and say, well, that's not exactly what I saw. Well, there's only one way to know what he saw, and that's to see from his actual eyes. So he discredited, and some of the jurors were kind of looking at each other like, well, then what's the point?
No, I mean, that's a great point, because the only way you can see it from his perspective is to look through his eyes, not this animation, not these drones flying overhead doing this 3D type thing. It's very interesting you brought that up, because when you watch this video, and hopefully you'll see it here in a second on your screen, again, you see Van Dyke taking steps towards Laquan McDonald. But I go back to his testimony yesterday where he said, Laquan was advancing towards me. He was within 10 to 15 feet. The knife was over his left shoulder towards me. But I don't see that there in this video, and I don't know what kind of recreation they could do with drones or whatever they want to use to suggest that that matches his testimony yesterday.
You can't alter the facts, and I'm glad you showed that. When the defense first said that he was advancing on Van Dyke, I at first thought there's no way they can show that. The only thing I can figure out is I've come up with a situation. Say I'm at your house, you've got a studio apartment. I'm on the back wall. You're by the front door, okay? But you're about 3 feet to the left of the front door. There's only one way out of your apartment.
Right.
We get in a fight. I want to get out of there. In order for me to get through the door, I have to get closer to you.
Right.
The proximity, yes, it's true. He got closer. He had to get closer, but he didn't come after him. And I also find it ironic, and this to me is just nuts, that someone who's on PCP is acting more reasonably than a trained police officer.
That's an interesting point, because as you can see there, Laquan was kind of walking over to his right. Yeah, he actually wasn't advancing.
He saw, hey, I don't want to go over there. He picked up on that. And if you look at him, he's trapped. He turns around, he gets shot by the cops behind him. He does a 90 to his left, he gets shot immediately. So he's trying to get away right there. And you can't defy, the laws of physics. If you look at the lines, he's moving away. And Van Dyke is closing the gap. Van Dyke did not, he escalated it. And yes, was Laquan McDonald, did he commit a crime? Yes. You're not allowed to shoot somebody for that. And I really personally think that he had just had enough, Van Dyke, and decided to end it.
Well, I think some of the statements he made that night, why hasn't someone shot him? I'm going to
Yeah.
have to shoot him. I mean, I think that suggests that. Let me switch gears, RJ. You're there. You're in Chicago. I listened to Chief Johnson yesterday saying that police were preparing for this verdict. What's the sense in the community in Chicago of people awaiting this verdict?
Well, I've talked to a bunch of people, and people are terrified of this verdict because, in fact, I just spoke with a Chicago police officer, and he asked me not to use his name, but he brought up the fact that the Chicago Marathon's this weekend. So he's worried that if anything under first-degree murder, it's going to be protested. So even if he's found guilty of second-degree murder, he believes that there are going to be protests and troubles throughout the city. On top of that, they're going to have to try to protect the Chicago Marathon. So he's terrified they're going to be spread thin. I've got a lot of friends who've asked me, they somehow think that I know what the verdict will be, when it'll come in, just by mere presence of being here. And the reason they ask is because they have said that they want a heads up because they won't send their kids to school that day.
Right. I mean, that's very interesting. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we saw it in Ferguson. We saw it in Baltimore with Freddie Gray and Michael Brown. So to your point, if the verdict is not first-degree murder, there could be a problem there, and it could be a manpower issue. You have the marathon going on, but police will, of course, have to deal with any protesters or anything that may turn into something more than just a peaceful protest. So there's a lot of moving parts to this going on in the city of Chicago.
There's so many implications. This trial carries so much weight and so many implications along with it. Not just for Van Dyke.
Yeah, absolutely. For the entire city of Chicago and for America, quite frankly, because, again, America is watching. RJ, always a pleasure having you on with us, sir. Thank you so much for being there in Chicago, bringing us this information. Thanks. All right, we're actually going to take a quick break. We'll have more to come on the Law and Crime Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.